Hey guys, welcome to the Dion Gaming channel. We're going to be going over some of the rules that are going to be going on my campaign. I know that I didn't realize that when you have a lot of characters, you'll have a lot of ruling to do, like so much ruling. And I like to go by the book until I actually use a house rule or a home rule. So we're going to go some of this right here for the written rule, what we call raw, and the house rule homebrew that will be based on my campaign and future campaign. So obviously for my campaign right at the moment, we'll be using the diagonal rule, which is the 5-10-5, and instead of the 5-5-5, which is the optional rule. The 5-10-5 makes it more realistic, and it's very easy to set up a roll 20. If you're playing with roll 20, just go up to the map where there's the cog, and then put it on path. Just scroll down where it says 5D5 or something like that for the version, and then go for it 3.5 Pathfinder, and then it'll add it to that. The second one is the critical one, and so many players like or DM, sorry, likes to use you roll a dice and it's ×2, and that's actually the 3.5. The 5e version is you double the dice. So if you're doing 2d6 on your weapon, you'll be doing 4d6. If you're doing 68 on your on like a smite or something like that, a higher level smite or something like that, then you'll be doing double that, 12d8. So we'll be using that one for our campaign. The third one is the potion interaction, which in here will be the potion used as an action to drink or administrate. And the reason that is because the way of my items is being delivered in this campaign. Like the higher or stronger the character gets, the higher they might face a boss, a CR boss, and the higher the CR, the better the reward. It's where I'm trying to go with my campaign. So at the moment, my characters, even though 2 has been a little bit side, they have been affected by the COVID-19. Actually 3 has been affected by the COVID-19. We regained 2 other players, but the other players that have been here from the beginning, they have some really good items and are getting stronger, and thus the boss gets stronger, and thus the reward gets bigger for them. If they can defeat the boss, they have to still be very careful. The potion is going to be basically on action. I know some players, some DMs like to do a bonus action, and I'm pretty sure there's many reasons for that. One is maybe simplistically more easy, better things to do on your action and so on, or they can have a really like slow campaign where you hardly get any items, and maybe they don't have a healer or something like that, and the monsters are really much tougher. Then I see like a really good judgment of rules that you go through the bonus action to use as a portion. But my campaign is very strong. They have good items and so on, so the potion will be used as an action. The fourth one would be a house rule and a homebrew, and this has nothing to do with reading or anything like that. The spell casting, the spell focus basically, it will be based on the skin. If they don't get a tattoo, it'll be based on the seal that they have, and that's how the story has be going on in my campaign. They're charging seal, like right now they have a seal with a bonus of saving throws and stuff like that, and they're just about to get another seal right now with another bonus. So either in their skin or in their seal, they have already the spell focus, and the spell focus actually provide the materials for it. So if anything that is one-time cost is deducted from your current gold, and anything that is cost related that is consumable will keep being deducted from your current gold. So you don't have to actually go to downtown, and at the same time this actually makes it much easier for player not to go to like a cave and somehow they leveled or something like that, or they feel like they want to go back before they fight a last boss and so on, to get some material components to be able to use for that boss. This actually takes that out, and I kind of like it that way because it just keeps the story moving forward and so on. So that's one. The spell casting for the armor stuff, this is another house rule and homebrew rule. House rule or homebrew rule, whatever you guys want to call it, is if you're proficiency with the armor. So if you are proficiency with the armor, you can actually cast it normally. There's no failure or impediment. If the real rule is basically you'll have something impending and you can't cast it with armor or something like that, you have to focus on the focus on the gesture, I think it said, correctly or precisely, and basically you will be impeded in casting that spell. Not gonna be like that on my campaign, so players in here have freedom of, if they want to use the armor, they have to technically, if they want to use a plate, they have to go strength for, I think it was either 13 or 15 it was. You know, you have to invest in strength in order to get the plate. I still keep those rules. So, you know, it's the same thing as they're investing in death, but they're basically investing in strength just to be able to get that. Unless they be able to get a higher armor that does not require it, if they can. Or if I allow it. And the other one is the spell casting at the moment requires no hand gesture. That will actually change for the future. This is just a test for this first campaign. It requires no gesture, or the seal provides it for you. Next campaign, will, with friends or not, will have been affected by the somatic. So what happens is right now is they almost like they have the warcasting fee automatically on them, but they don't actually have the concentration advantage. So you still, it's not relatively like worthless to pick up, because if you want to get advantage on it, you just pick up the warcasting feat. But it still allows the character to go ahead and use a shield and a sword and still being able to use the spell. Basically, it'll be just like waving your sword, basically, instead of waving your hands. It's like waving your sword, and the seal provide that ability to allow you to cast the spell. But that might change. At the moment, I feel like it's pretty powerful, especially with the items that they're getting. So my next campaign will have the somatic component affecting them. So if they need to cast a spell and it has a somatic component, which is the S on the magic area, then they will need a free hand to use it. But for now, it's not like that. And now that that's actually over, and that's all the 6 rules that I have here, there are the majority. The reason that is actually like that is because you actually have to study a lot of rules, and there's a lot of rules in here that are also not contained in the campaign that I kind of want to go into. And that's like, for example, the weight. If someone's want to pick someone who's flying, realistically, you don't just pick the person up and the bag has the containing weight and so on. You pick up the person and the person weighs something. So, as an example, an Asimir for my campaign, an Asimir weighs about 165 pounds. If the person doesn't have a bag of holding and he or she is basically having that amount of weight, like 100, it's going to be added to it, and the other person who's trying to fly will have to add 265, which means the speed will decrease by X amount. I think it's 5 on the first one, and I think the other one was 10. Depending on the threshold. So if they want to reach a certain area and they can only do it for 1 minute, your speed is half. So instead of 600, it will be 300. Same thing again for the speed of rules. It doesn't tell you how much speed you travel in 1 minute or anything like that. So you have to use the in-game rules and calculate it like that. For example, a person who can walk 30 feet will still be able to, like, if he has the Asimir basically have the ability to fly depending on your feet. So if the person walks 30 feet, he'll be able to fly 30 feet unless he has gained fly of higher feats. So he'll be able to fly 30 feet in 1 round. So in 10 rounds, he'll be able to do 300 feet, which is 10 round equals 1 minute. So if you were able to dash, he'll just dash up into the air 600 feet. So that actually happens, did happen in my campaign, where there's a floating castle with goodies and stuff like that that comes from the past, and it's like an event that comes every 5 days and so on. And that's something that I do have in my campaign, but I actually calculate that. So if the person wanted to actually carry somebody, he could have, but the feat would have been decreased by half, I'm sure, because everyone did not grab the bag of holding, even though I give them like literally 3,000 gold each. They grab like really good items basically, but he could have just basically, they could have just taken up like all their stuff and leave it down for someone to pick up to hold for now, and they could have went up there almost not naked, but you know, in clothes, and they could have just got up there basically and got more reward than usual, and then split it down when they come back down. But anyway, they don't have this, they don't have rules for that, so I have to like come up and try to learn all those. Again, same thing here. They had the rules for the large and stuff like that, so I used the roll 20 for it. They have the optional rule here that says about the diagonal And that's optional rule. The realistic rule that really do tell you is 5, 10, 5, and so on. They also have things for facing, and I have my minor priority here, but that's not anything to do with rule. Here it is. So there's a bunch of rules that comes with classes, and that correspond with what they do in here. For example, let me just give you one on the top. What about if a person has a two-handed sword and he wants to throw a javelin? How would that work? Well, in here, technically, I read that, and trust me, when I read about a specific type of topic, I read about 10 or 15 other tabs to get the correct answer. So the one that usually has the majority thing, or the one that actually is by the Raw or by Jeremy E. Crawford, those one I actually conclude that is literally the legit rule. So for example, here, there's no action at all, or free action. There's nothing. It takes no action to move from one hand to two-hander. You have to do that when you're attacking. That's it. So I will rule it in my campaign that the person can switch from his two-handing to putting the sword on his left hand and grabbing the javelin, sheathing his javelin as a free action, and then throwing it. And I think that's actually one of the rules that I actually forgot to put in here. I am going with the normal 5e action, no house rule for it. So if you're sheathing something, that takes a interaction that takes a free action, and if you want to throw it or anything like that, that will take your action. But if you're stowing a weapon and you want to shield something else, that will take your free action and your interact with object action. So if you're having like a sword and a shield, and let's say you want to bring out a two-handed weapon, you still have to like stow your one hand and stow your shield, and then you have to wait to the next turn before you can actually sheath your great sword and then attack, and so on. And the cool part about that is when you're using it as a free action, you can attack, and so on. So that is also still in there, but again, going back into many rules, Aurora rules. Here's the one, for example, the drinking. I had to look up in here as sage advice, and then I had to look so you can read it over here and so on, because some people want to use it as a bonus action and so on. So you could run one, pull a potion of your backpack and use as free options for action. So this person actually make it all free action, but it sends you to 139 in here, and automatically you can see the 139 for it as a potion or consumable magic item. Drinking a potion or administering a potion to another character requires an action, but players may not like that kind of answer. But again, that's why for example, when you reach the edge of what rules covers in D&D, D&D governs what lies beyond. And again, the D actually is the one who actually rules the whole world. So you don't even have to follow that rule or anything like that. But if you're a person who wants to follow 5e, and you have a lot of players who do follow 5e or anything like that, the raw written rule writ as written, then you basically want to actually have all this at your disposal. I had stuff for dart drawing, concentration, to monks, to horse, finding the steed, how intelligent they are for combat, so they can be independent in combat, and so on, versus riding in combat. Can you attack it? Can your horse attack while riding? No, it cannot, but it can definitely attack if you just dismount and allow it to have independently attack. And since the paladin has the telepathic to it, the horse becomes an intelligence score, I think modifier or in score of 6, I think. Like, it becomes more intelligent than a regular horse, basically. And he can actually have telepathic communication links to it, so it makes it much easier for the horse to actually obey and do what it does. So, all that ruling and stuff like that, over here, everything, it actually affects the game. Especially, I have items in here that has magic missile, so I needed to know, do you make an attack as a magic missile? No, you don't. It always hits. And again, I look over here for Jeremy Crawford. Magic missile isn't an attack, so if you were to use magic missile, it hits automatically unless your opponent is using shield, which blocks it completely. Same thing with two-handed sword and so on. All that in here with attack, with sheath, with drawing, all that rules in here. I took the most important one and memorized the one that are the most easiest. So, you know, as a DM, trust me, we do stand in doing a lot in here for it. Same thing right here. What happens if you're not wearing proficiency? You can't cast spell. So basically, in my book, I put it that you can cast spell, and I took away the impediment part in there. So this is pretty much, I think, going to be for the video and so on. I already set the rules in the beginning, so for those who know my campaign and you know those who may join on the future campaign, get yourself acquainted a little bit with the 5e rule, and basically get yourself acquainted with my, I think it was what, my 4th, 5th, and 6th homebrewed one. Number 4, 5th, and 6th, basically. I have everything written here, just in case, and so on. So that's pretty much the end of the video, and I'll see you on the next one.